Quick Question Podcast. My name is Gabe Ryan alongside my co-host Matt Shafty. We are excited to be back for episode number 2 of this podcast journey. We appreciate all the love and support on episode 1. And thank you guys for listening and sharing it with your friends. We really appreciate it. Matt, how was your weekend?
It was good. And if you haven't listened to that first episode, go do it.
Yeah, do that. That's more important than his weekend.
Yeah, no. Saturday was a bit of a bummer for me. I was very happy with how my team right here competed. They really came back at the end there. They have the grit, man. But, you know, it wasn't the best ending. Sunday was great. Sunday was awesome.
And for our listeners, who is that team?
For Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Well, they're right here, the Michigan State Spartans. And on Sunday, they are the Detroit Lions.
Well, sounds like an eventful week. Yep. I felt for you on Saturday. I was kind of scared to come back because I didn't know what kind of mood you were in. I didn't watch the game of the Michigan State Spartans against the Washington Huskies, but I did see the score and I thought you would be not too happy.
You know, the way they fought back,
understatement of the year,
really helped me keep my emotions together.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us for the first time, the way this show is going to be organized, Matt and I are going to go back and forth asking each other questions that we have prepared. He's going to ask me 3 questions today. I'm going to ask him 2. We'll give our take on whatever question. We might know a little bit about the subject that the question is referencing to. And for some of these questions today, we have no idea what the topic is, which is going to be some raw reactions to it. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to get into some rapid fire questions towards the end of the episode, and also a new segment called How Deep Is Your Love, where Matt and I are going to debrief our sports teams that we love the most. Matt is Michigan State and all the Detroit teams. And then unfortunately, mine is the Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati Bengals, and Xavier basketball. But before we get there, let's start with the first question. So Matt, first question for you. What are your biggest overreactions from week 2 of the NFL? Who's your biggest surprise team? One per division, let's say.
Okay.
All right. So buckle up, everybody.
We're going to start in the AFC side. The Dolphins are one of those teams that I think they're so well-rounded. Defensively, they have everything on paper that they need. They just got to stay healthy. They could be really, really scary. And offensively, we saw what Tua did last week. That was very impressive. And a lot of people would say, oh, that's not like Tua. Well, how about you believe in him for once, right? I'm coming with the attitude today. Go believe in him, all right? He's got Tyreek Hill there. And you saw the deep shots he threw to Tyreek Hill. Not only were they accurate, but there were plenty of them. And Tyreek got hurt earlier in the game. I guess I'll bring up the Broncos AFC West. It's not looking great so far. It's looking a little grim. The offensive line, as kind of like last season, is bad. And even with Russell Wilson in the pocket, who is known for having bad offensive lines, and you cannot escape. And Jerry Jeudy went down on injury. I think he'll be okay, though. He should be fine. But when you have that caliber of offense and you're only putting up, 17 points a week, and you have a really good defense, like that defense is playing really well. Mm-hmm. But they need to go score points in order to stay alive. Colts, AFC South. Colts.
Rough weekend.
Yeah.
Really rough weekend.
24-0 against the Jags. That is impressive by the Jags and not very impressive by the Colts. The Colts defense, on paper, they're really good. They did lose Kari Willis, who was a starting safety for them. He retired at the age of 26. And there's a hole there. There's a hole in that secondary. And a lot of people kind of overstated it. There's a hole in that secondary. Offensively, I think people are starting to recognize how important Michael Pittman is. Yeah. He is, in my opinion, the sole receiver on this team. He is that biggest piece to the puzzle that they need. He wasn't there last week. Matt Ryan cannot run a show without Michael Pittman. Yes, they have Jonathan Taylor, and yes, they have a pretty good offensive line. But
you can't be a one-trick pony in the NFL.
Yep. Can't happen. I want to talk about the Giants or Cowboys. I'll go.
How about them Giants?
Okay, I'll go Giants.
How about them Giants?
I could talk about Cowboys, but I'll go Giants. I'll go Giants.
Let's keep the Cowboy news for later.
Okay.
I'm not ready yet.
No, not yet.
Go for the Giants.
So Giants.
I'm interested.
This is a me thing, right? I feel like they're just the Denver Broncos from last season. Denver went 7-10. They started 3-0 to begin the season with a cupcake schedule. And this Giants team, even though they're playing well, I'll give them that. I just don't see it. I don't see it with Daniel Jones at quarterback, with an offensive line that's actually playing pretty decent.
They might be praying.
They should be because Evan Neal hasn't been great to start out so far.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I like Thibodeau a lot defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I like Tony. Kadarius Toney is a stud. He's got a lot of talent, but there were some issues highlighted during fall camp. Apparently he was like showing up to practices late. He wouldn't participate in some things. It's like that. The story gets old real fast, especially in the NFL. You're getting paid this boatload of money and you're not playing. And he is the most talented receiver on his team. I don't think that's really that close either. They just got to get better.
Yeah.
Barkley looks really good. If he just doesn't get hurt.
Quads.
Yeah. He looks awesome so far. Rams. I'll go Rams. What is up with the Rams? I know they played the Bills week 1. They lost by 21 points. But how can they let up a comeback to the Falcons, who are known for letting up comebacks? And this is a Falcons team that is not very impressive. It's really not. They can compete like the Lions did last year. They can talk about competing, but it's about winning in the NFL, and they're not going to win many games. And you are the Super Bowl champs, and you're letting up that kind of comeback to them.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams have lost a lot from last year. I mean, Von Miller.
Yeah.
OBJ.
Yeah.
They've lost a lot of weapons, and it's kind of the same story. Like you were talking about the Colts and Jonathan Taylor, and how basically the only thing they can do is run the ball. And I guess the Rams feel like with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp's the only person that Stafford trusts on a regular basis, even with Allen Robinson.
Yep.
He hasn't been targeted much. Like in the first game against the Bills on Thursday Night Football, I don't think Robinson maybe got one target, if that, and he didn't seem like very involved in the offense. So for the Rams, I feel like it's concerning on both sides of the ball. You lose an NFL or a MVP caliber defensive player. It's tough.
Yep. I think there is one issue that hasn't been highlighted yet, and I like Van Jefferson a lot. I mean, he's not like a above average, crazy good Pro Bowl receiver, but he's a really good receiver 3. He's still young, and I believe in him. He's a deep threat, and they've been missing him.
Yeah.
So I think once they get him back, maybe the passing game will smooth out a little bit with those top 3 receivers. But when you can't run the ball, especially with Cam Akers and that Achilles, which really is like the death of running backs in the NFL. Once you have an Achilles injury, it's basically over.
Yeah, I think like any sport, Achilles is really hard to come back from.
And Darrell Henderson is just not a starting running back in the NFL. No. He's not. So they're going to have to figure out the run game. It'll probably take them beyond this season to do so. So how can they work with their pieces right now to get back to where they were? I think it's possible. They still have all the talent in the world, but they just got to figure it out. Next, I'm going to be a homer here. I'm going Lions.
Uh-oh.
So I'm very excited about this offense. I saw some headlines that were saying they may be an offensive juggernaut, and I'm going to go with that because it's an overreaction. Juggernaut. And they had...
It's a very strong word, Matt.
And they have so many pieces out right now. Well, so DeAndre Swift didn't get all the touches in the world last week because he had the ankle injury. Jameson Williams has been out and will continue to be out, and hopefully he'll come back soon. I'm hoping that he can come back by, Cowboys week or something like that. But offensive line too. You saw the story of Dan Skipper, 6th year in the NFL, doesn't have one start, makes his first start this season. Well, Sunday, and tears it up. I mean,
Balls out.
Did really well. Him and Logan Stenberg did very well, in my opinion. Again, once they get their starting offensive line back, which won't happen because Vitai's probably done for the year. If they get 4 or 5 guys back and they get Jameson Williams back, this could be a really tough offense to stop. It really could.
Yeah.
Has the potential to be. And my last team, we're looking at NFC South. We'll go Buccaneers. Buccaneers are looking good even without the best of Tom Brady.
And don't mess with Tom Brady because Mike Evans is coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And he's appealing for the 1-game suspension right now. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if he actually gets suspended or not.
I mean, he did the same exact thing to Jameis Winston in the Superdome when they were both on the same team. So don't mess with the Buccaneers quarterback because Mike Evans is coming for you.
Yeah. And then Jamal Dean. Jamal Dean had one hell of a game last week. I can't say that enough. Like, he played great in the first half, and then the second half, he just balled out.
Yeah.
I mean, they left him in single coverage, and he picked off 2 passes. It's awesome. Good for him. Good for the secondary. Good for that defense. It's been 2 weeks in a row where they've looked awesome. I mean, I know the Saints offense had a hurt, banged up Jameis Winston at the helm, but you just held a Cowboys offense to 3 points and a Saints offense 10 points, even though they had banged up quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I'm very impressed with the Bucs so far.
Yeah. And last team you want to mention, do you want to mention the Cowboys? Or are we just going to completely skip?
We're going to skip the Cowboys.
Wow.
We're going to skip the Cowboys.
Why? It's America's team.
I know it's America's team. We're going to skip them.
Are we going to come back to it when you talk to me about the Bengals?
Yeah. I was just about to say, but yeah. We'll get back to that.
I can't wait to talk about that.
We'll be back.
All right.
So my question for you is the Live Tour. Woo! Chicago just had an event. What are your reactions to it?
So for all of you guys that don't know, the Live Golf Tour is directly competing with the PGA Tour. It came into our lives a couple months ago. Greg Norman, former PGA Tour star, is the general manager for the Live Tour, and it is backed by a Saudi company or the Saudi government. So before going any further, that raises some red flags about funding, the ethics behind that funding, like what they're doing to get the money. In short, the Live Tour has a lot more capital and a lot more money than the PGA Tour. And their goal, I think, from the start of it was to draw players from the PGA Tour to the Live Tour to kind of like directly compete with the PGA Tour, obviously, but take some of their star talent, take some of the revenue that comes with that, and get some really big names out on a completely opposite tour. Now, from a player's perspective, PGA Tour, the way their salaries work is basically the only way you get paid outside of sponsorships is if you place well in a tournament. Like, there's no guaranteed money that comes with being a professional golfer unless you're under contract with a certain sponsor. So for the Justin Thomases, the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, and a bunch of other players, like some of the top players in the game, they don't have to worry as much about winnings on the PGA Tour because they have a lot of guaranteed money that come from other sponsorships. But for the average player, winning and placing well is the utmost importance because that's how they put food on the table. That's how they support their families. So the Live Tour decides we're going to offer players a stupid amount of money to sign a contract. It's only 8 events. It's 54 holes a tournament. They don't have to wear pants. It's a little bit more relaxed. There is no cut. And they're introducing a team-based format. So there are 12 teams of 4 players, and each player plays as an individual, but as a team, they're going for the winning team at the end of the season gets a $50 million prize split 4 ways, which is ridiculous. And obviously, if you're a PGA Tour player, money talks, and it will continue to talk for a long time. And as much as I hate to say it, money is the genesis of this entire problem. PGA Tour started banning players that went to the Live Tour. disqualified them from any events. Some of the major tournaments are turning people away, some aren't. It's kind of up to the RNA, the USGA, the PGA. It's up to everybody's separate governing bodies. But in Chicago this past week, the LIV Tour held a tournament in Chicago. Cameron Smith, the 2022 Open Championship winner, claimed victory. But I doubt many people knew that because the LIV Tour, like, where do you find it? I just found out just from doing some research. It's on YouTube and it's streamed on YouTube. But the point I want to make about the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour, no matter if the LIV Tour is structured in a way that might be more favorable to the players, and I guess in the consumers in a way, because most of the action is in one spot for 4 or 5 hours at a time. It doesn't span the entire day. So on the first day of these tournaments, they're doing a shotgun start instead of tee times. So that means all 48 players are on the course at one time. And I think an average round is about 5.5 hours. So from a consumer's perspective, you're not spending a ton of time on the golf course. And you're also getting to see all the players play at once instead of waiting, maybe possibly spending more money on concessions and such. But the point I want to make is, what are these guys even playing for? Like, there's no meaning to, like, oh my gosh, Cameron Smith won the Chicago LIV tournament or LIV tournament. Like, cool. You won money, but what does it mean? And there's some prestige that comes with playing on the PGA Tour. There's some prestige that comes with playing in the Masters, playing in the US Open, playing for the Players Championship, a FedEx Cup. Like, I know there's money attached to all those things, and it might not compare to what the LIV Tour is giving out, but it means something. And it's meant something for a long time. So if the LIV Tour is going to compete, they have to have some meaning behind some of these tournaments. And I think the only way some of these tournaments can have meaning is over time.
Mm-hmm.
And right now in its infancy, LIV Tour is in a very unique spot to where it might be a competitor to the PGA Tour for years to come. And many players might decide to depart from the PGA Tour. But it also could be something that's gone in a couple years.
Yep.
And Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy just announced a couple weeks ago that they're hosting this, I guess, experience-driven golf show that's going to air on Monday nights and prime time. It's going to be 6 teams of 3 or PGA Tour golfers. It's in conjunction with the PGA Tour. And they're going to host kind of like an arena style event. And I think it's 15 match days, a semifinals and a finals. So the players are going to play in like this arena. If you look it up online, there's renderings and it's kind of crazy. So basically they're going to play into a simulator, like their drives and their approach shots. And then they have about 100-yard short game area where the players are going to play from. So let's say they're 83 yards out. There's going to be like a marker that says they're 83 yards out. And then they'll play into a green, but around the entire green are spectators. So it's going to be like the golf fans are actually there engaged, which I think is a really unique concept. And it goes in conjunction with the PGA Tour. It fits around the players' schedules. And it kind of gives them something to do that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more engaging to the fans. And I guess the idea of it is to find the next generation of players, because golf, like the crowd, most of the crowds for golf are getting older in age, and they need to do something technologically based to appeal to a younger generation of fans. So it'll be interesting to see what the LIV Tour does. I mean, congratulations to Cameron Smith. I'm not sure what you won, but it's just an interesting time to be a golf fan right now. Like, where does your allegiance lie? So that's what I have to say about the LIV Tour.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Next question from Matt. Crazier ending this weekend. App State against Troy, the Hail Mary finish, or the Jets come back against the Browns. 13 points in 2 minutes with no timeouts, and they executed an onside kick. Go.
Okay. Go. So before we get into my answer, I kind of want to back up into the significance of Appalachian State and upsets. So obviously there's Michigan, right? They pulled a huge upset in, what was it, 2007, 2008? I can't remember what year it was because I wasn't really a fan back then because I was so young.
Have you ever been a fan?
Yes. If you couldn't
of
tell.
Michigan?
Oh, no, not of Michigan. Okay.
Just make that clear.
Yeah, big, huge win in Ann Arbor, week 1. They blocked a game-winning field goal from like 39 yards, 38 yards. I can't really remember the highlights.
I've seen the highlights, yeah.
FCS team, then they became FBS, and really it was backed off of that and the money they got from that game. Then they go out and beat Texas A&M, right? They get money from that 17-14 win against an SEC program. And this team now, you have fans that are looking for a Power 5 bid. And that could be a significant push for it. Then they get game day, which is even bigger. They kind of stole game day from Miami and Texas A&M by beating Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They basically did that. And
welcome to Boone.
Yeah. So
I'm from Boone County, Kentucky, so there's a connection. That's cool. Anyways, go ahead.
We all know about the Hail Mary that happened. If you don't, there was 3 seconds left.
If you're watching on YouTube, we will have a clip of this.
Yep. 3 seconds left. Quarterback chucks it up as far as he can. The ball's tipped in the air and it's caught. And he runs from the middle of the field to the far side and into the end zone, which is just insane. And the significance of that is in line with those two. It can't be understated because that is on ESPN, ESPN Plus, which was sad because they got game day and then ESPN Plus, which I was not a fan of that. I didn't like that. That was kind of disrespectful. But at the end of the day, it's huge for that program that they won that game, especially in the way that they did.
Yeah.
And they keep doing it. I mean, they almost beat North Carolina earlier this year too. Put up 61 points on them, right? They had that huge fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're looking at that and saying, yeah, we did that too.
So that's more impressive than Browns Jets?
I'm getting the Browns Jets. Okay. So obviously 2 minutes left. Browns throw a deep ball to Corey Davis, Western Michigan. Woo, my boy. I watched a bunch of his games growing up.
Okay.
Yeah. So caught it, touchdown. It was like, what? I can't even remember the yard. I think it was like 60 something yards. And they obviously recover an onside kick that they have to re-tee because it got blown over by the wind. And then, Browns defense actually made some good plays on that final drive. They couldn't stop Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco throws
something about Joe Flacco.
Garrett Wilson, the rookie. And then Jacoby Brissett gets on the field with some 20 seconds or something remaining. They get to the 50-yard line. They get near midfield, and it's looking like, okay, the Browns actually have a shot here. Then he throws a pick. There was one thing that happened earlier in the game that also changes the significance of this. And it was Cade York, rookie kicker from LSU, missing an extra point, which would have put the score later in the game, assuming everything goes out the same way it does, at 31-all. And they could have gone to overtime. It's just a little plays in football that mean a whole lot. So
wow, that was poetic.
So, I mean, there's a lot of plays that mean a whole lot, but there are little plays. So, which one is more significant? I think based on what the trajectory of Appalachian State, what they can get from this, I would say that's more significant. I don't think the Jets are going to be a team that's competing for a playoff spot this year. Even though it's a great win, I'm not going to call it significant.
Okay. I like that answer.
Yeah.
I think both games obviously ended in crazy fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I felt for the dog pound a little bit because they've been through a lot, especially in the last 10, 15 years, 20, 30 years, a long time. And this was just another kick in the balls, just absolutely demoralizing. And for it to beat the Jets of all teams, it's tough.
Yeah. Do you remember the hype? What was it? Baker Mayfield's second year where they got Odell and Jarvis Landry.
I mean, they were good. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
They were like this close to beating the Chiefs, but they had to play against Chad Henne, and Chad Henne pulled it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was during the COVID year, and they had a really scary defense that year. And now, where are they? Like, what happened, right? They've gotten rid of Baker Mayfield. He's gone. Deshaun Watson's in his own boat of problems that him and his legal team is in. Nobody else is in right now. And then you have OBJ leaving the team, complaining about Baker Mayfield.
Oh, Baker.
Yeah. Jarvis Landry's gone. They have Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
It's funny because before the Cowboys game this week, Amari Cooper had more touchdowns than the Cowboys.
Well, I'm sad. I don't know. Just anytime
We'll get
I
to
hear
that.
Cowboy.
We'll get to that.
Get to that. All right.
Yeah.
Next question.
All right. The final question. NBA and the NBA Players Association have been talking about a new collective bargaining agreement, a CBA, as they call it.
Okay.
It's still a work in progress. At this point, I've seen two things. One is mental health. Like they're going to treat it like a physical injury, which I think is great.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second thing is something that has a lot to do with our love and passion for college basketball. They are changing, or might change because it's still a work in progress, the limiting age of entering the NBA draft, putting your name in from 19 to 18. So players can jump from high school to the NBA. What's your say?
Wow. Well, I haven't heard. Well, that's the first time I heard that. That's at least from a college basketball perspective, that's kind of frightening. Well, I guess the NBA is doing everything they can to get the best players in their game at the right time. So the popularity, the longevity of the game is there. However, I could probably count on one hand, maybe two hands, the amount of NBA players that have worked out from coming straight from high school. So you talk about the OJ Mayos, the Kevin Garnetts, the Kobe Bryants. That is a very, very small percentage of athletes that have made it to the NBA, had really long careers, really impactful careers. And for the vast majority of high school kids that decide to skip college, most of them are not going to work out. That's just like statistics are on my side. I think common sense is on my side too. And I think, especially in today's day and age, where you have social media, where you have parents that are way more involved than they used to be, and just the craziness that comes around AAU basketball and travel sports at a young age, you throw this wrinkle in there, who knows what happens. And it's not like the NCAA is a place where you can't make any money because of the NIL deals that came out last year. These athletes are going to have some sort of base to make money in the NCAA. I think if they do agree on this collective bargaining agreement, I think kind of like football, if you go to a school, you have to be there 3 years. Because if you go straight out of high school, maybe there's a family situation that I guess everybody else isn't or doesn't know about for the specific player. Maybe they need to make money quick. Maybe they're trying to support their family. Who knows what the situation is, but they might have some valid reason as to why they would want to go to the NBA early, which is always has to be taken into consideration. But for the people that are selecting going to college, I think you have to make a commitment to that university, and you still have opportunities to make money. And that's only expanding because obviously the agreement came in last year. So it's in its infancy. And I just think for the sustainability of both college basketball and the NBA, if you're going to commit to one over the other, you need to commit to it for at least a few years. And I guess another point that I thought about, if you're the NBA, and let's say you have a bunch of college players, and obviously the one and done rule has been very popular the last 15 years or so. Would you rather want a player that has just completed 1 year of college, maybe is a little bit raw in their talent, maybe they haven't developed in the way that you thought they would develop? Would you rather want that kid, or would you rather want somebody that's been in a program for 3 years, has learned, developed, their play style, developed some maturity inside the game and also off the court, because they're going to have to handle other things that come with being a Division I athlete, especially a basketball player? Do you want that player that's more mature going into a professional landscape? Or do you want the 19-year-old that still doesn't know anything trying to figure it out? And if they do take kids from high school, I hope that they have some programs or something that can help these kids develop professionally, being out on their own for probably the first time in their lives, and also being in the spotlight that they are. I think that needs to come into consideration if they do decide on lowering the draft age. And I think that would be beneficial for the NBA as well as college basketball. College basketball would be able to keep really big names for multiple years. And there's a lot more college basketball teams than there are NBA teams.
Mm-hmm.
And not like, I'm from Northern Kentucky. The closest NBA team we have is the Indiana Pacers. And I don't care that much about the NBA. And that's not any slight at the NBA. It's just, I didn't grow up in a place where there's an NBA team. I grew up in a place where there's UC basketball, Xavier basketball, UK, Louisville, Indiana, Notre Dame, Butler, Ohio State. Like, it's a very rich college basketball area. And my interest went more towards that. And I think if you take that away from the consumer, if you take that away from the people that pour their blood, sweat, and tears into college basketball, I think that hurts, obviously, the sport and the NCAA. So yeah, that's.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that point. There's like, are you kind of saying, so like similar to college baseball, where these guys would get drafted to the NBA, but they'd stay?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Like baseball, obviously you can enter your name in the draft when you're a senior in high school, or you can opt to go to college and wait. Now, the baseball process is different because you don't go straight to the major leagues. You have to go through many levels of minor league baseball before you get to where the professionals are. NBA, you have the G League, but you can still go straight to the NBA.
Right.
And that's unique to the sport. And obviously it's unique to baseball too. But I do think that there should be some sort of, if you opt to go to college, you have to stay there for at least a few years, or you could be like baseball, you're a draft eligible sophomore, just depending on, you can redshirt, do all those things. And I think it makes college basketball teams and the programs more valuable, because if you're going to commit yourself somewhere for 3 years, and there's the transfer portal, let's not forget about that. But if you're committing to a college for multiple years, you want to make sure you're going to somewhere where you can develop, that has a track record of development, and someplace that you can play against good teams, against good players, and win a lot of games. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And it kind of incorporates the tradition of college basketball back a little bit more.
Yep. I'm sure NIL will have a piece to play for the NCAA and kids who are making up their minds for, do I want to go to the NBA and play in the G League, or do I want to go to college basketball and make some money? Like, and
the last thing to that is, if they do the draft age to 18 and they don't do anything about how long you have to stay in college, I think the mid-major schools or the Division I schools that maybe don't have the programs that stack up to Duke, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Kansas, I think those schools are going to really, really suffer. Because if a player does decide to go to college, it's just going to be the blue bloods. Because why else would you go? Why would you go anywhere else if you're not going to look to commit to somewhere for a long period of time?
Yeah. I think, I hope and I think that college basketball will be okay, even with this ruling, if it happens. But we'll see. At least it's kind of similar to how you grew up. I grew up with really college basketball was everywhere. Obviously, I'm a Pistons fan, a big Pistons fan. Yeah. But I will say college basketball to me is at a different level than the NBA.
It's like, what if you did the same thing with football?
Yeah. Well, football,
I know football's different.
I see NFL and college football is really the same, except you can afford a loss in the NFL. I can take a Lions loss and be fine. Where at Michigan State, it's like one loss is not helpful. At all. I mean, I'll get into that. I'll get into that during the love podcast, or the love segment.
The love podcast with Matt and Gabe. Speaking of that, are you ready to get to get there?
Do we want to do the 4 rapid fire questions first, or do you want to do how deep is your love first?
Let's do rapid fire at the end.
Okay, got it.
So this segment is called How Deep Is Your Love? Cue the Bee Gees. All right, Matt. Your Michigan State Spartans, your Detroit Lions. Give me your thoughts. Tell me how you're feeling.
I'm doing one team today. I could talk about the Lions and how I love that they're in the right direction right now, but I'm going to talk about Michigan State.
Okay.
I've saved that part for this portion. And I talked about earlier, I love the team's grit and effort, and I am not mad at the team at all. People take away from the loss. They say, oh man, this team is bad. But the injury report was like a foot long. It was, they had a lot of guys out. A lot of guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could name significant guys off the top of my head right now. I mean, Jaden Reed, Xavier Henderson, Darius Snow are out for a long time. Jacob Slade was preseason first team All Big Ten and an honorable mention All American. And the list goes on and on and on. There's a lot more. And when you have those guys out, it plays a significant role. At the same time, Michigan State fought. Peyton Thorne fought. And they fought till the end. And yeah, they made some mistakes along the way. But they had a chance to cut it down to a 1-possession game. They had a chance to recover 2 onside kicks. One that bounced over the head of a Michigan State guy out of bounds, and the other that there were 2 guys in front of it, and it rolled 8 yards. Rolled 2 more yards, and that's our ball. Right? Things don't go our way, but at the same time, you know what? You played in a tough environment. You played when it was 10:30 Eastern time here. So players have got to be tired, even though they did, they probably worked up to that point.
Yeah.
They probably went to bed earlier curfew.
Let's hope so.
A lot of travel too. So, tough circumstances, tough situation, tough environment, and a loss. But I'm not mad about it. What I'm really mad about is Michigan State fans. There's 2 narratives, right? You have fans that aren't Michigan State fans that say, oh yeah, this team is bad. But they don't know the insights of the program. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay?
Yes.
Nothing against you. Sorry.
Okay.
And number 2.
I know nothing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And number 2 is the Michigan State fans. I went on Twitter after the game, Instagram, jumped on just to see how are we taking this loss. And some fans took it really well. They retweeted tweets from Michigan State guys right now and Mel Tucker, and they're like, "We're going to bounce back." So they were
mature about the situation.
Some. I say less than 1%. The other 99.9% were just going on and on and on about how bad this team is, how overrated this team is, how disappointed they are in Mel Tucker, how bad of a coach Mel Tucker is. Are you kidding me? Really? He's been in the program. This is his 3rd year. He's taken us to heights in 2 years that none of us could have imagined, right? He's the king of the transfer portal. And you guys are complaining after 1 loss with all these circumstances going on. He came out on Monday. I think it was Monday. It was either Sunday or Monday at a press conference. Someone asked him about the game, and his response, I'm going to say something explicit, so excuse me. This is what he said.
Cover your ears.
He said, I'm a horseshit coach. Okay? He's taking that loss, all right? He's aching for that loss. He's aching for this team, and he's going to work his butt off to get this team back on track. Yes, we're inconsistent right now. Well, we, as in Michigan State, I'm not a part of the team, but I'm going to say we because I don't really care. Yes, there's problems. Yes, the coordinators, both offensive and defensive, had their issues. But there should be no reason that after 1 week, we're firing these guys. I get Scotty Hazelton had a rough year last year. That wasn't the most talented defense in the world. Yeah, I mean, they had talent, but they weren't fast. This year, they're a lot faster, but there's a lot more injuries. And it's been 2 weeks, guys. It's been 2 weeks. Okay? Chill out. These guys are going to come back. Not Darius Snow, which is sad. Pray for the man. Pray for his family. But I mean, we're overreacting, right? I'm not saying Michigan State's going to win the rest of their games for the rest of the season. They're going to go to the college football playoff. I'm not saying that. Okay. As much as you want me to say that, right? Fans want me to say that. I'm not going to say that, right? I came into this season and last season with no expectations. Okay. Obviously, I had my outside research. I had guys that I highlighted. One of those guys is Keon Coleman. He had one hell of a game last week. And Keon was one of those guys that went on Twitter. And he said, we're going to be fine. We're going to bounce back. We're going to put our heads down and work and get ready for Minnesota. Why don't we do the same? The team's doing it. Why don't we do it? Okay? The best way to support your team is obviously support them, go to games, but also live the way they live. All right? Work in their mind. Don't be the outside crowd that makes that noise. All right? You know, those annoying birds that chirp in the morning and you just want to go to sleep. That's completely off topic. and they really make you angry, but you have to try to ignore them. That's all that outside noise. Forget about the outside noise. Okay? What goes on in the program is what goes on inside of the buildings and the practice facilities, and you guys have to be supportive about it. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate your debrief. That's very moving.
Yeah. And
Michigan State fans, I'm going to say something explicit too. Get your shit together. Let's go.
Yep.
You deserve to hear that.
You do.
All right. Do you want to shift topics to heartbreak?
Let's go to you, Gabe.
Okay. So before I get into this, the genesis of this idea is both of us root for some teams that maybe year in, year out are not the greatest. And it takes a lot of love, takes a lot of patience to get through being a fan for them. I'm not going to mention anything about my Reds. They're, I love them. I love them to death. I work for them. But I've kind of moved on from caring about their season because they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. It's been a very frustrating year. We're just going to leave it at that. But my Bengals, holy crap. I said it last week and I'm going to say it again. It's like, I was talking to my mom about this. It's like we were on an acid trip last year. We went to the Super Bowl and the time we came back to our senses, we start 0-2. It's pretty much the feeling around Cincinnati. It's like, did last season ever happen? Where's our swagger? Where's anything? We replaced 3 offensive linemen and Burrow's gotten sacked like, I think close to over 10 times in 2 games or close to, I don't know what the number is. I don't care. It's a lot. I don't think it's just been an abysmal start. The offense has no swagger. The offense is the most concerning part of the Bengals, in my opinion. Defense, for the most part, has played pretty well first 2 weeks. They held the Steelers to only a couple touchdowns, and most of those points that they gave up were because the offense turned the ball over. They had great field position. It didn't take that much to score a touchdown. And their defense in the first half against the Cowboys and against Cooper Rush did not show up. They gave up 2 touchdowns on the first 2 possessions, and it was just downhill from there. Now, shout out to Michael Daly, one of our friends, huge Cowboys fan. I respect the Cowboys. They played really well. Cooper Rush diced up the Bengals, but I am heartbroken. Bengals go in to New York City to face the Jets next week. They better win. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Joe Cool is not looking too cool right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been tough. Wide receivers look frustrated. The offense looks sluggish. They look, I don't know. They look timid. They don't look like they're really convicted in what they're doing. And Burrow's gotten sacked a lot. The offensive line, La'el Collins, has not shown up. I know he said that he was Joe Burrow's new bodyguard. He hasn't done a very good job as Alex Kappa and I forget the other guy's name, but still, it's been rough. And I think the Bengals turn it around. At least I hope so. They have a ton of talent on their team. They have one of the best wide receiver cores across the NFL. They have a good quarterback. Just give them time and we'll see what happens. That's what happened last year. And we made it to the Super Bowl.
Just believe.
Just believe.
Just believe.
I'm just frustrated. And
Yep.
Zach Taylor, I know you're not frustrated, but how on earth can you not?
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It's not frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose to 2 teams, and let's be honest, right? I'm not going to hate on the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Dallas Cowboys, but you lose to 2 teams with less talent. than you guys. They both have extreme talent. The Cowboys have Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, a pretty average O-line, and a defense that's getting better. And the Steelers have an improving offense and a good defense, but you guys have the best all-around team of the three. How can you not win those games, especially without Dak and especially at home against a young Steelers team?
I think Joe Burrow's appendix is the root cause of this whole situation. When he had his appendix, we went to the Super Bowl. When he didn't, we start 0-2 against two teams that I guess on paper don't stack up to the Bengals.
Okay, we can add that to the overreaction. So we can say
yes.
An appendix-less Joe Burrow is worse than Jared Goff.
The appendix is the cause of this.
Worse than Jared Goff.
I buy stock in that.
Don't buy stock in that.
Don't buy stock in that. I don't think
I love
exists.
Jared Goff. Don't buy stock in that.
No.
I'm going to pick him up for my fantasy quarterback, I hope.
Why would you buy stock in the Lions?
Moving on. So
right, we ready for rapid fire?
Absolutely.
Rapid fire questions, week 2. All right.
Only 4 questions, and this week it will actually be rapid. As compared to last week, if you haven't seen last week, please watch last week. All right, bring it up again. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going right now. So, would you rather have more time or more money?
Time.
I'm taking money.
Next question.
Dang, we're going this rapid. Okay. Would you rather talk to animals or speak all languages?
Talking to animals because that's cool. I don't know.
I'm going to say all languages because animals can't really hold like a decent conversation with you.
Yeah, but I could befriend like
I don't think they have concepts.
Lions and bears and all these animals and get them on my side.
I think
then that would be cool.
I think it's more like food, friend, water.
So we're going into intelligence of these animals. Then I just befriend gorillas.
You can't ask like a squirrel is what is the meaning of life?
Why would I want to talk to a squirrel?
Okay, anyway, so what superhero would you be?
Batman.
Batman? Oh man. This one's tough. I'm gonna go
Batman.
Iron Man, Tony Stark. I think that's pretty cool, the technology and stuff. And he's rich.
God,
and
you
a philanthropist.
What's
okay? How about this next question, which gets away from it? Would you rather receive cash or gifts?
I'm going to say practically cash.
Okay, I'm going to fade from the cash because I think gifts have more meaning. Okay, it could be a stuffed bear.
You are such a family man.
Yep. I would rather, and I used to be all about the Amazon money, and I still am about the Amazon money. All right, you give me Amazon money, I'll go buy stuff that I want. But when it comes down to sentimental things, it's gifts.
Okay.
Gifts are more sentimental on a birthday.
It's from like people that are closer to you, obviously gifts.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't expect them to get you money.
Yep.
That would just be kind of weird.
That's true. That's true.
But I guess in the grand scheme of most people getting you a gift, I think money's a lot more practical.
Yeah, it's more practical. Like if you're doing your graduation and you're getting money for that, I'd rather get money on my graduation day.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Or my graduation party than, gifts.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. I know there's some regions in the United States that don't have graduation parties. Like I know out West, it's just not a thing. I was completely shocked by that when I heard that.
That's the first time I've heard of it.
Yeah. Because I mean, in Michigan, and I'm guessing in Kentucky, they're like big. Yeah. Like in Michigan, they're huge. But I heard like from one of my teachers in high school that out West, there is nothing.
That's odd.
That might have changed. All right. Newer generations, maybe they brought it out West. But that's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. Weird way of life they live out there.
Yeah.
Weird people.
And that's the last question?
I'm kidding.
Correct?
That is the last question.
We talked about our teams. We talked about our other questions. Man, we made it through episode 2.
Episode 2.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to week 2 of the Quick Question Sports Talk podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and for listening. Please share with your friends. Please comment on YouTube. Please share us on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio podcast now. We're working to get on Amazon Music. We are on Apple Podcasts. If there are any other platforms that you would like us to be available on.
We're still on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, we are on YouTube. The video portion of this entire broadcast.
If you want to see some cool highlights,
whatever it's called,
go to YouTube.
Yeah, we will have highlights from the NFL games, maybe some Live Tour highlights. We're getting our feet wet with this thing. And it'll evolve every week. But be sure to check us out on YouTube, subscribe, comment, share, do all those things. And if, like I said before, if there's any other platforms you would like us to be available on, just let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we will see you next Thursday for episode 3 of the Quick Question Podcast. But without further ado, my name is Gabe Ryan.
And I'm Matt Shafty.
We will see you next week.